I was sitting in my car in the Chick-fil-A parking lot, staring at my bank statement on my phone, and I swear the numbers rearranged themselves 3 times before my brain accepted what I was looking at. Over $2,000 of my money was just gone. Let me back up. My name's Jordan, I'm 17, and up until about 3 weeks ago, I thought I had the most normal family situation in the world. My parents, mom and dad, married 20 years, suburban house, two-car garage, the whole thing. My dad works in insurance and my mom does medical billing from home. We're not rich, but we're not struggling either. Like, we go on vacation once a year and I never worried about whether there'd be food in the fridge. Middle class in every sense of the word. I have a younger sister, Bree, who's 13 and mostly just exists in her room watching TikTok compilations, so she's not really part of this story. Growing up, my parents were the type to be strict about grades and curfew, but also genuinely loving. They showed up to every single one of my soccer games. My mom made me a cake on every birthday from scratch, even the year she had walking pneumonia. My dad taught me to drive in an empty church parking lot every Sunday for 3 months before I even got my permit. I want you to understand that I love these people. That's what makes all of this so confusing. When I turned 16, I got a part-time job at this local hardware store called Henderson's. It's family-owned. The owner, Mr. Henderson, is this old guy who calls everyone boss, and the work isn't hard, stocking shelves, running the register, helping people find the right size bolts. I started at 12 bucks an hour, which felt like a fortune. I was working about 15 hours a week during school and picking up more shifts in the summer. I was saving for a car. Not anything crazy, just something reliable that I could drive to school and work without borrowing my mom's minivan. Here's the thing you need to know about how my paycheck situation worked, because this is where it all starts. When I first got hired, my mom sat me down at the kitchen table and explained that since I was 16 and this was my first job, she'd help me manage my money. She said she'd set up a savings account linked to her account so she could help me keep track of everything and make sure I wasn't blowing it all on stupid stuff. And honestly, that sounded reasonable to me. I didn't know anything about banking. I didn't know what a W-4 was. I couldn't have explained the difference between a checking and savings account if you'd put a gun to my head. So I said sure, and she set everything up. My direct deposit went into this account that she had full access to. She'd show me the balance sometimes on her phone, and I'd see the numbers going up, and I felt proud of myself. She even made this little spreadsheet showing how much I'd need to save each month to afford a decent used car by the end of junior year. I thought it was sweet. I thought she was being a good mom. And for a while, maybe she was. But I also noticed something over the months that I never really questioned until recently. Whenever I asked to buy something, new cleats, a video game, going out to eat with friends, my parents would kind of exchange this look. And then one of them would say something like, well, you should be careful with your money, or maybe wait until next paycheck. Which, again, seemed like normal parent advice. I never pushed back because I trusted them. I figured they could see my balance, and they knew better than me how fast money goes. I didn't realize they knew exactly how fast it was going because they were the ones making it go. It all came apart because of a glitch. That's literally it. The banking app updated, and when it did, it logged my mom out and sent a verification code to my phone number instead of hers, because apparently when she set up the account, she'd used my number as the backup. So suddenly I had access to the full account on my own phone, not just the balance she'd screenshot for me occasionally, but the full transaction history. I was on my break at work, eating a granola bar in the back room, and I pulled it up just to see how close I was to my car goal. I expected to see something around $4,000. I'd been working for over a year. Instead, the balance said $1,847. My stomach dropped. I scrolled through the transactions, and there they were, transfers out, regular ones. 200 here, 150 there, sometimes 300, all going to an account I didn't recognize. I counted them up on my calculator app while my hands were literally shaking. The total came out to $2, 360 in transfers over 14 months. I remember putting my granola bar down and just staring at the wall. A coworker, Dustin, walked in and said, "Dude, you look like you just saw a ghost." And I couldn't even respond. I just said, "I gotta make a call." But I didn't make a call. I sat there for the rest of my break trying to come up with an explanation that wasn't what I knew it was. Maybe it was a bank error. Maybe my mom moved it to a different savings account with a better interest rate and just forgot to tell me. Maybe there was some reasonable explanation, and I was about to feel really dumb for panicking. I drove home that night with my jaw clenched so tight, I thought I was going to crack a tooth. I walked in the door and my parents were watching some home renovation show on the couch. Everything was so painfully normal. Bree was in her room. The dishwasher was running. It smelled like the candle my mom always burns, the vanilla one from Target. I stood in the doorway of the living room and I said, "Hey, can I ask you guys something about my bank account?" And I watched my mom's face. I swear I watched it happen in slow motion. This tiny flicker. Not guilt exactly. More like surprise, like she wasn't expecting this conversation yet. My dad muted the TV and said, "Sure, what's up?" So I asked. I said, "There's a bunch of transfers out of my account that I didn't make. Do you guys know anything about that?" And my mom did this thing where she took a breath and looked at my dad, and then she said, and I will never forget this, she said, "Jordan, we were going to talk to you about that." Those words. We were going to talk to you about that. Like it was a conversation they'd been meaning to get around to, like telling me we're switching internet providers. My dad sat up straighter and went into his explaining voice. He said that when they set up the account, they'd agreed between themselves that a portion of my earnings would go toward household expenses. He called it contributing to the family. He said that since I was living under their roof, eating their food, using their electricity and Wi-Fi, it was reasonable for me to chip in. He said most kids around the world do this. He said they didn't tell me because they didn't want me to feel burdened and they figured they'd explain it all when I was older. My mom nodded along the whole time like this was the most logical thing in the world, and I just stood there. I couldn't even yell. I wanted to, but my throat closed up. All I could say was, "You took over $2,000 from me without asking." My mom winced at the word took. She said, "We didn't take it, honey, we redirected it. There's a difference." There is not a difference. I'm sorry, but there is absolutely not a difference. The next few days were awful. I told my best friend Caitlin, and she was immediately furious on my behalf and told me I should open my own account and change my direct deposit immediately. So I did. I went to the bank on my lunch break, opened an account in just my name. You can do that at 17 in my state with your own ID, and switched my direct deposit that same day. When my mom found out, and she found out fast because the next pay cycle hit and nothing landed in the old account, she came into my room and sat on the edge of my bed and told me I was being ungrateful. She said the money went toward groceries, toward the electric bill 1 month, toward Bree's orthodontist payment. She said, "Do you think this house runs for free?" And then she cried. My dad's approach was different. He got cold, he stopped talking to me at dinner. When I asked him to pass the salt, he passed it without looking at me. One night I heard him on the phone with my uncle and he said, "The kid thinks he's an adult now. Let him figure it out." That one hurt. It actually hurt so bad I sat on the bathroom floor for like 10 minutes. I made the mistake of posting a vague thing on my private story, something like, "Love finding out the people you trust the most are the ones playing you." And of course someone screenshotted it, and of course it got back to my mom's friend, and of course my mom confronted me about airing family business online. She said I was humiliating them. I shouldn't have posted it. That was my bad, I know that. But I was angry, and 17-year-olds with anger and a phone are a dangerous combination. My aunt called me and told me I was being disrespectful and that my parents had sacrificed everything for me. My grandma texted me a Bible verse about honoring your parents. It felt like everyone was on their side and nobody was seeing what I was seeing, that they took money I earned and hid it from me. Then came the part that still keeps me up at night. About a week into the Cold War, I was helping my mom with laundry because despite everything, I'm not going to let clothes pile up out of spite. Her phone was sitting on the dryer and it buzzed, and the notification preview showed a text from my dad. It said, "Don't worry, we'll just use the credit card for now until this blows over." I didn't mean to read it, but I did, and then, because I'm human and because I was already suspicious of everything, I looked at the family computer later that night. My dad's email was still logged in. I found a credit card statement. They were $14,000 in debt. 14,000. My parents, who I thought were comfortable, were drowning. The money they took from me wasn't greed. It was desperation. They'd been barely keeping up with bills for over a year, and they were too proud to tell anyone, especially their kid. So now I'm sitting here and I don't know what to feel. Part of me gets it. They were struggling and they were scared and they did what they thought they had to do. But another part of me, a loud part, says it doesn't matter why they did it. They should have told me. If they'd sat me down and said, "Hey, things are tight, can you help out?" I would have said yes in a heartbeat. I would have given them more than what they took, but they didn't ask. They just took it and smiled in my face while I saved for a car I was never going to be able to afford on time. I still love them. I'm still living in their house. But something broke, and I don't know if it's the kind of thing that heals. So tell me honestly, was I wrong for being angry, or does the fact that they were struggling mean I should just let it go?